Hey YouTube land, Tycondrius here doing another action figure review, and today I'm taking a look at the new Neca Series 1 Dungeons and Dragons Grimsword Ultimate Action Figure. Now, if you're not familiar with this design, this is based on the old original LGN figures from 1982. Unfortunately, I can't find my version of him. I actually have an original version of that LGN Grimsword, and I can't find a version. Can't find him at the moment to do a side-by-side comparison. I can find my version of Warduke, which I don't have the Neca version of, and I can't find a version of I can't remember his name. He's one of the other evil warriors. He's the evil fighter. This is the evil knight. So we'll take a quick look at his box before we go on with the figure. Just get him to stand there. He's a bit heavy, a bit front heavy. So bear with me a moment while I bring in the box. So it comes in this very nice window box packaging. You can open it up and you see an image of the figure, a photo of the figure inside the box, and then you have all his paraphernalia and his bits and pieces and the figure itself on this right hand side. There is a blurb on the back of the box, so if I read it out, it says, Grimsword Evil Knight is a mighty warrior and fierce fighter. He hopes to rule the land someday after he defeats all his enemies in combat. Grimsword has many evil friends fighting by his side, but he cannot be trusted. He will betray or fight anyone in order to gain power. So it includes sword, snake mace, snake shield, and interchangeable hands. And this is the Warduke figure, which is the other figure available at the moment, which I haven't picked up yet. I do intend to get him. I just didn't have the funds to get both of them at the same time because they're fairly pricey in the old price point of things. I was hoping to pick up Warduke at some point, but I put it on the long finger. You see the front of the box has some amazing artwork done. Side of the box has an image of the figure. Then you got the Dungeons and Dragons logo and a close-up of the head sculpt. And the head sculpt is just amazing on this thing. And you got other images of the figure. Then on top of the box, you got, again, Dungeons and Dragons logo Grimsword. And you got all the legalese stuff on the bottom of the box. So, that aside, we'll have a look at the accessories first. If I can just slide his shield off and his weapon out of his hand. So he's one of the few figures that you can actually, or few Neca figures that you can actually have him holding all his gear or all his actual accessories to a degree. So he comes with this amazing snake motif shield, which is straight off the original figure. Now, my only minor gripe with this is I kind of would have liked it if they'd done a thing here at the back so you could rotate it, so you only kind of able to hold it at one position, which is this kind of down position. It would have been nice if you could have been able to rotate the handle area and have it kind of rotated to hold it at the side, but it just slips over his hand, and you can have him either grasping this strap or you can just push it up over the wrist and it will fit on quite nicely and it will stay on quite nicely. It doesn't want to wobble. These bits on the side of his helmet are slightly adjustable. I think they came like this in the box, so they were pointing up, but you can, the way he's supposed to have them intended is they're supposed to point forward, so if he was to headbutt you, you get spiked in the face with those spikes. He does have a kind of mohawk thing going on the helmet, which is really nice, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but he has like these really red eyes. Yes, focus. You see the eyes through the helmet, which is really cool. What's also really cool is the sculpting on the helmet. You can see it's been bashed on one side where he's been in battle. You can see like there's dents, scrapes and everything on the armor. It's not just a plain suit of armor. But that's getting off track. We'll get back to his accessories. So he comes with this awesome mace, snake mace as it's called, with a real chain and a spiked ball. So it's kind of similar to how they do the nunchucks for the Michelangelo figure, they usually have like a either chain or a bit of rope to attach the two nunchucks together, so it's very similar. And this thing just swings and it looks like it would do a hell of a lot of damage. This is spiky, you have to be careful with it. It is a solid piece, but it would, if you were to smack this off someone, it would hurt quite a bit, I would imagine. And if it was made out of real metal, it would hurt even more so. It does fit in his hand. He has a grasping hand for holding his weapons. He does have his sword, which is really nice. And if you want to have him holster all his weapons, just move his arm out of the way here. There is a sheath. Well, it's not really a sheath. It's a holding point for his sword. It just sits in here. So you have to be careful with this because it does point out quite a bit on the back. So if you are keeping him in the display, you kind of need to be wary that this sword does stick out quite a bit. Normally what I do if I'm putting him in a display with other stuff, I just have him lightly hold the sword in this hand so it's not in the way and it's loose enough that if it won't get in the way of his you know, basically how much space he takes up on the shelf. Because if you have this pointing out, he's going to be taking up at least the length of the sword out behind. He'll be kind of tight for space. So his other accessories are his alternate hands. So he comes with, grab them all together, comes with 2 punching fists, which are done really nice. They have like they're done in a matte black with a dry brushing of metal over the metal sections of it, which is quite nicely. He has these kind of almost trigger pointing finger hands, which are quite nice, left and right for that. Then he has a more outstretched kind of conquer the world sort of hand. He has left and right, which his left is already in his hand, and then he has the weapon grip hand, which will hold his sword quite nicely. So he has the same thing on his right at the moment. This is his left alternate hand, so you want to have him holding both weapons at the same time, you can have him doing that. And you can see the detailing on the armor parts are the same. He has like this dry brushing all over the sword arm or the hands, which is quite nice. So I'm just going to pop his shield off so you can get a better look at his articulation, and pop his mace out of his hand. So he is quite articulated, but he will be hindered in some respects. So he will be hindered on his right shoulder with this big pauldron piece that goes up. You can see he has this big snake motif going on. He does have a waist swivel, which is quite nicely hidden. He doesn't really have any ab crunch or anything like that because of this waist piece. His arm can go up that much on the right, on the left hand side. You might get the same on the right. I'll just see if we can get it up. So you can get the, he can actually get both arms up. This will hinder the movement though for forward and back, whereas on his left he can get a full 360. He does have bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows, which are kind of nicely hidden. So or is it double jointed or single jointed? Actually, sorry, I think it's single jointed. Sorry, he has a single jointed elbow, but it gives a good 90-degree bend. And then he has the wrist swivel with articulation. So depending on which wrist you have, I think they are all the same articulation point. Yeah, they all have the side to side instead of vertical, but you can get him in that kind of grasping, conquer the world sort of grasp. His head is on a ball joint. He has some great range of movement. In fact, I think it's a double ball joint. So he has a ball joint at the base of the helmet, and then there's one on the neck itself. So you get a good range of movement on this guy's head for something that's covered in armor, which is quite nice. The sculpting goes all around the back. You can see he actually has a brown belt underneath this waist piece, which is hidden by all the snake motif detailing. His overall suit of armor is pretty, I wouldn't say it's pretty, it's kind of plain enough in the sense that it's just like sculpted plating, whereas the snake motif is the most iconic thing on him. And then he has this kind of scale mail going on instead of chainmail, which is kind of nice. And then he has these, he has a swivel, thigh swivel. He has, I believe, single jointed knees as well, because of the way his armor is sculpted. Yeah, it's a single joint on the knee, but it does get a good bend on the knee. He can do the splits that much. He won't get much in the way of back with his skirt or rear armor plate, even though it is a more flexible piece of material and only get back that much. And he can't really get a good, he can just barely get him into a seating position. Not that, well, if you have something like a throne, he might look pretty good on one. But overall, he's not too bad in the articulation point. As I said, he has that single jointed knee, and it is a swivel as well. He has rocker ankles. He does have peg holes on the bottom of his feet. He doesn't have toe articulation or anything like that. Now, I do find every so often he can be a bit front heavy because of the way he's designed. And I think the feet are a little bit loose on my version. But he will stand quite nicely without any of that kind of stuff. So if you have all his gear on him, as I said, these are articulated as well, so you can point them up if you want. But all the kind of images of them have them pointing down. On my actual figure, the vintage figure, these are actually broken off, so I don't even have them on my one. It doesn't look that bad without them. Well, I don't think they're intended to be removable on this version. But he is a really nice figure, and he is a big figure as well. So if I get his gear back on him, I'm going to bring in the tape measure, and we'll do a tape measure on him. He is, I better take the old extra hand off. So the hands are just on the peg system, so he will pop out. For height wise, he stands nearly 8.5 inches tall, which is bigger than your standard 7-inch figure, even though it is supposed to be as part of a 7-inch line. So he would have no problem taking on the likes of Geralt here, who looks dwarfed next to him. Geralt of Rivia. We'll bring in Spawn. This is Gunslinger Spawn, even though I know it's not a medieval Spawn. But you can see Gunslinger Spawn was kind of taller than a standard 7-inch figure as well, so he even towers over him a bit. And I'm just going to move the box out of the way. Hopefully everyone doesn't fall over in the meantime. Come on, Spawn, stand up. You know you want to. And stand up, you bastard. He's not going to want to stand up, is he? He just keeps wanting to flop over. No matter which way I put his foot, he's just wanting to flop. There we go. But you'll fall over anyway. So here is one, was it Ice King or whatever he's called, the Frost King from that Build-A-Wave, which I actually haven't reviewed yet. So he's nearly the size of him. And for something even in the mega figure range, move poor old tiny Geralt out of the way. Into the background, Frost King over to the side. He is almost the size of a mega figure, if I recall. Here is the Ogren from the McFarlane mega figure line. He still stands nearly the same height as him. In fact, if I bring the tape measure in, I don't need it that high. The Ogren stands around nearly 9 inches, and this guy stands around nearly 9 inches, so like they're nearly the same height, which is kind of cool. I know they have done pre-orders, or there is announcements, or at the time of this recording there is I think it's pre-order out for Strongheart, which is the hero knight, and then there's a thief character, which I think is based on an orc, and I'm not sure if there's anyone else announced, but there's 4 figures. So you have this guy, Grimsword, Warduke are the first 2 figures, and then Strongheart. I can't for the life of me remember what the thief, he's a rogue character, so he's a bit stunted and smaller than the others. I can't remember what his name is, but they're all based on the original LJN figures. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video review of the Neca Dungeons and Dragons Grimsword, based on the original LGN figure. If and when I get Warduk, I will do a review for him and have a side-by-side comparison with his actual figure. And if I can find the original Grimsword figure, I might just do a quick update and add him into this video. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.